And let me thank you also for your words on the catastrophe in Spain. I can join you in saying that my thoughts are with the victims, are with their families, and are as well with the rescue teams. I think all European solidarity is needed to really help people in need, and it will be one of our utmost attentions over the next months to help the people in Spain. Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I am honoured to be here tonight with you to discuss the future of EU agriculture, food system, but as well rural areas. A future that I believe we can forge together. I grew up on a family farm on the border between Belgium and Luxembourg. So I know the good times and the bad times of farming. I well remember my farmer, my father, and after him, my brother, struggling with paperwork when all they really wanted to do was work their land and take care of their animals. Honourable members, our union depends on its 9 million farms, more than 90% of which are family farms like ours. Together with the wider agri-food sector, these farms provide us with safe and high-quality food. They guarantee food security and play a crucial role in maintaining the beauty and diversity of our landscapes. They keep our cultural heritage alive and our rural areas vibrant. But our farmers are under pressure to carve out a living from their work, under pressure from climate change and extreme weather events, from geopolitical instability and unfair competition, and from increasing regulatory complexity and administrative burden. Farmers felt their voices were not heard, so that they took to the streets earlier this year. This is why I intend to be a boots-on-the-ground commissioner. I will use every opportunity to visit farms and farmers throughout the member states. The strategic dialogue on the future of EU agriculture was much needed to bring a very diverse group of stakeholders to the table and leave the climate of sharp polarisation behind us. If confirmed as Commissioner, I will build on its consensus and transform it into a clear perspective. I will follow up on the dialogue's recommendations, including, as recommended by the strategic dialogue, through the European Board on Agri-Food, which I will soon establish and convene. I will do this in close cooperation with this committee and this House. And I will work just as closely with all fellow commissioners who are part of the food system cluster. As the dialogue concluded, farming needs to be sustainable in all three dimensions: economic, environmental and social. We need better policy coordination on topics such as climate adaptation, water resilience, animal welfare and the many other initiatives that directly impact farmers and consumers. These principles will guide me when preparing the vision of agriculture and food that the President of the European Commission asked me to prepare in the first 100 days of the mandate. It will consider a plurality of views, and the whole agri-food value chain will be included. It will be a shared roadmap for future initiatives, and not a top-down, take-it-or-leave-it blueprint. The vision needs to start from a central question. How do we attract a future generation of farmers that will take up the mantle from the current generation as custodians of our countryside? In line with the conclusions of the dialogue, the vision needs to look at how farming can be economically viable, environmentally sustainable and socially responsible today, tomorrow and also in 2040. Let's take a closer look how we can do that. First and foremost, generational renewal will be central in my thinking for the next 5 years, because only 10% of farmers are currently under the age of 40, and therefore we are heading towards a demographic cliff. If confirmed as Commissioner, I want farming to entice young people once again. They need a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. And this is why I intend to develop a strategy for generational renewal in close cooperation with the young farmers. We also need to support the development of a land observatory. It is crucial to promote transparency and accountability in the land market to improve access to land for young farmers. But who will enter or continue farming if they cannot make a decent living out of it? Farmers' income is only around 60% of EU average. Therefore, income support remains key. But all the farmers I meet so far, they would rather prefer to get a fair price for their product than rely just on in public support. They need to be fairly remunerated by the market, and that should be our main goal. Global competition, on top of rising energy and input costs, puts this objective even further out of reach. And I have heard too many farmers say that they will struggle to pass on a viable enterprise to the next generation. Honourable members, President von der Leyen said that it is vital that farmers have a fair and sufficient income and that we will defend an income policy for Europe's farmers. I can tell you I stand fully behind that. And to this end, we must draw on all sources: income from the market, public income support, investments and alternative sources of funding. Support through the CAP remains essential for farmers. It secures them a fair income, rewards them as well for ecosystem services, and it compensates them for work in areas with natural constraints. It supports investments into climate mitigation and adaptation, and it helps to meet our environmental objectives. It is crucial that our farmers should not be forced to systematically sell their products below the production costs. We need to beef up their bargaining position. Honourable members, we also need to support the competitiveness of our entire food value chain. Strengthening competitiveness means investing in research and innovation. It also means supporting small and medium-sized enterprises. We need to foster the development and an on-farm deployment of new cutting-edge technologies such as precision farming and such as biocontrol. That's how good farming practices can help reconcile environmental, social and economic sustainability. For the year 2022 alone, the European Investment Bank estimated the financing gap for agriculture at around 62 billion euros. We need public and private investment to finance and de-risk the sustainability transition. We need new initiatives. The EIB funds can help support the CAP and unlock and de-risk private capital. This is especially true for young farmers and women in agriculture. They are most at risk and yet find it most difficult to obtain loans or additional investments. This must clearly change. I know from experience how important global trade is for the competitiveness of our agri-food sector. Last year, agri-food exports totaled nearly 230 billion euros. But we all agree this trade must be fair and allow our farmers to compete on a level playing field. One of the main concerns expressed by our farmers during their protests was that we hold our own producers to higher standards than non-EU producers. This can also lead to social, environmental and production leakage to other parts of the world, and I believe we have to avoid that. If confirmed as Commissioner, I will work with my future colleagues to address these issues and see how to ensure the application of our standards by any imports in compliance with the WTO rules. Let me turn now to the latter part of my future job title, food. Farmers, producers and the wider agri-food sector all play a part in delivering abundant, delicious and nutritious food for our citizens. And that is something we can be proud of. We must build on this success with a holistic approach to transform our food systems and make them resilient for the future. This means changing the way we produce, we process and sell and consume our food. Farmers also need consumers appreciating and willing to pay for the production of high quality and safe European food products. Concretely, we should take into account the need to promote sustainable supply chains in the framework of the revision of public procurement rules. We have to step up our fight to reduce and better reuse food waste, to name but a few issues. But we should always remember that European action is not automatically a silver bullet. Many policies around food remain national, regional or even local. EU action is, however, indispensable when it comes to addressing climate and environmental challenges, and no one knows this better than our farmers, as extreme weather events are putting their livelihoods at risk ever more frequently. And last week's devastating floods in Spain, I think, was the example that they have and want to contribute to the protection. Farmers see the change, they live with it, and they deal with it. And I believe they are our first line of defence in the fight against climate change, biodiversity loss and pollinator decline, to name but a few. I know that farmers want to contribute to the fight against climate change. Under the current CRP, already 1/3 of the budget goes to environment and climate measures, and 70% of EU farmland is already covered by eco-schemes. The full impact of the national CRP plans in force only since 2023, I have to remind it, still needs to be fully factored in this calculation. And we need to further unlock agriculture's potential for carbon storage. More can be done, but farmers' efforts need to be encouraged by appropriate incentives. Our vision for the future should therefore double down on the logic of the strategic dialogue. Agriculture and the preservation of nature can go hand in hand. Organic farming, I believe, is a good example for that. But one-size-fits-all approach is not the way forward. Environmental pressures are different from region to region and from sector to sector. We also need to better measure and record the efforts our farmers are already making today. And to this end, we need to support the development of a user-friendly benchmarking system to help farmers deal with sustainability requirements and, at the same time, reduce red tape. Last but not least, our rural communities need to thrive. They need better access to services and opportunities which those in urban areas often take for granted. The circular bioeconomy can play an important role in this regard. Agriculture and forestry should not only produce biomass but also add value. Scaling up the bioeconomy through the investment support in rural areas is therefore essential. And cooperative entrepreneurship in rural areas will be key to ensure that farmers and foresters benefit from bioeconomy developments. Specific attention must go to employment and economic development in remote rural areas, on islands, and especially in our outermost regions, for which the treaties require specific efforts. Honourable members, the common agriculture policy will remain the frame that holds this vision in place up to 2027 and beyond. I believe the CAP strategic plans will continue to prove their worth. They enable us to contribute to farmers' income as well to achieve high environmental and social objectives. The treaty requires us to develop and maintain an ambitious common agriculture policy. We need stability, predictability and simplification where possible. We must find the right balance between incentives, investments and regulation. And we need to ensure that our farmers are not burdened by excessive bureaucracy, and I believe the previous Commission made a good first step towards simplification. If confirmed as Commissioner, I will closely monitor the impact of any new measures on our farms and farmers, also with the necessary impact assessments. Honourable members, the CAP safeguards our food sovereignty, supports our rural areas and contributes to the sustainable transition. It is not just a policy for farmers, it is a policy for all Europeans. I have met many of you over the past weeks to discuss agriculture and the challenges. And today I'm keen to exchange with you views on the future of agriculture. If confirmed, this is how I intend to continue working in close cooperation with this committee and in close cooperation with this House, I will always cherish the dialogue and discussion to nourish as well the future policy initiatives. I hope I will earn your trust today, and I'm looking now forward to this fruitful exchange and the many questions you might have. Thank you very much.